Right now is Rajeev Chandrasekhar, the MOS Electronics and IT. Rajeev ji, namaste. Thank you very much for joining us and making the time. Let me first ask you, Prime Minister has turned 72. What would you like to say first up on his birthday?
So look, I think I will say on his birthday what millions and crores of Indians say. We thank him for his leadership. We thank him for his untiring efforts at really transforming this country and taking it in a new direction. We thank him for allowing us to dream and reimagine the future of our country. And we thank him for his dedicated, commitment to this whole idea of a strong nation and a prosperous nation and an equitable nation, and for all of his efforts and policies over the last 8 years of being a prime minister, over the last 2 decades of being a servant, and of course, I think we have to thank him more than anything else for where he has led us in the last 2 years during this pandemic. He has brought us, taken us through the storm of the pandemic and taken us to the other side of the storm as a stronger nation, as a much more confident nation, a nation
Yes.
to which to whom the world looks at with all respect, because all of them had to deal with the same crisis.
Yes.
All of them had to deal with the same pandemic. And while the big nations are still floundering and struggling to still get out of the COVID impact and effects of COVID, here we are a nation which is the fastest growing economy in the world and have rewritten the narrative of what India is capable of. So
let me ask you, Rajeev ji, share with us a personal anecdote of your interaction with him.
Look, like everybody else, when I first met him 2012, maybe a decade ago, he had this very big persona. He was a doer. He was a man who led from the front. And for several years, I used to engage with him with a lot of trepidation, nervousness, as anyone would. He's a person who's accomplished so much in his life. And I have realized that one of his greatest strengths, and that makes me, has made my transition into being a minister even that much more comfortable, that he is truly invested in other people's success. And he really spends a lot of time in listening to people's views. He is very, for him, it's almost like an article of faith to hear multiple views on a subject and then come to the best conclusion, rather than have it only by a few people or a few officers or a few people. So I think his ability to be available to even smaller, junior ministers is absolutely something that I truly respect him for, and I'm very grateful for.
Well, that seems to be a common feedback, that he listens to everybody. But let me ask you, Rajeev ji, the cheetahs are back in our country since 1952. The Congress believes that this is all propaganda, tamasha. It's they who set the ball rolling.
If you go by the Congress's narrative, everything this happened in India, pre-independence, post-independence, and even far after all of us have left the planet, will be to their account. And I don't deny them their little 5 cents of credit taking, but the reality is the only judge of a political party's real achievements or real service to the nation and the people is the voter and the citizen. And while each of them may posture and act and pretend to be having delivered this and having delivered that, fundamentally I think the people of India repeatedly have told the Congress and many of the parties that their trust is in Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They trust in him in serving his culture, his politics of service, his culture of actually doing things for the common man and those who are far removed from the corridors of power, and to reaching out to them and creating a framework so that they can also have opportunities. I think that train has left the station, and while Congress and Rahul Gandhi, while they're walking in Kerala and doing their thing, want to take credit for the cheetahs too. I suspect even the cheetahs will not agree.
But there is a worldview, and I need to ask you this because you are also aware of this. There is a worldview and there is an India view. And the worldview, largely driven by America, the West, is that Donald Trump and Narendra Modi, they draw parallels between the two, and they try to equate their hate for Donald Trump and what he is as a leader, and they try to say that Modi is the same. Do you believe that's true, or does the world need to wake up to the India view and respect the India view?
Look, Anand, the people on the left like to demonize, they like to create these categories and slots. I, frankly, as a proud Indian and more so as a proud, Indian citizen, I think Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji today is a leader of the world's largest democracy, the world's oldest democracy, commands a respect of a different stature. Now, there are many world leaders who may want to be compared to him and may want to be equated to him, but that's something that they want to do. I think the challenges that a Prime Minister Modi faced in 2014 when he became Prime Minister is unparalleled in the annals of the history of the modern world. India, I always like saying this to young students who ask me about one difference between these last 8 years and all the years before, is that for several years and decades, Anand, India was seen as a dysfunctional democracy. A democracy that doesn't deliver for its people. It had a lot of people, a lot of enterprising people, but the government and democratic system never delivered to the true potential of this country. And this even went to a point where the countries to our north, countries like China, would say democracies will never work for large Asian countries.
Correct.
And actually perpetuated the idea of authoritarian regimes and Marxism and so on and so forth. And it is the same democracy, the same people with a different leader, a leader that has confidence and has the ability to create tools and frameworks and to bring integrity into governance, a dedication and passion into governance that has altered that. The same Congress who's now taking credits for cheetahs, their Prime Minister in 1985 said, for every 100 rupees that leaves Delhi, only 15 rupees reaches the people of India. He said it, he acknowledged it, and he took it that was the de facto status that nobody could change. And today we have in 2022, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when under his watch, 100 rupees leaves the government of India's bank account, it goes to the beneficiary's account, all 100 rupees of it, overnight, responsive, immediate, without any leakage and without any corruption.
No, I take your point, and I think we've got to be confident about our view and how we see the world and how we want to go about things. Final question quickly. I have Bishweshwar Tuduji also going to be joining us. So Rajivji, let me ask you this. Do you believe PM's work ethic would be your biggest takeaway from him?
And a lot of us, as you know, who have come in are all workaholics, and we all thought we were workaholics. I thought I had an amazing work ethic, and I could work large. I had a large capacity to work, but I can very realistically tell you that the work ethic, the unrelenting focus, the span of his work, the ability to look at so many different issues, very granular way as well as a very strategic level at Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji demonstrate day in and day out. We see this in the Council of Ministers, we see this in one-on-one interactions, is absolutely unrivaled, and for somebody like me, deeply impressive. And I can tell you that, people ask me, is celebrating his birthday about deifying him, or are we making this an individual birthday? I say no, we are not celebrating just him. We are celebrating the entire work ethic that he has brought into governance and politics. Would you ever imagine more than 10 years ago, Anand, that bureaucrats and bureaucracy would be operating at this levels of efficiency and the focus? all these things we never thought would happen in our lifetime. I clearly didn't think it would happen in our lifetime. And we are seeing all this happen play out in front of our eyes. And it has a lot to do with his determination, his untiring style of work, and his absolute commitment to his vision of a new India.
No, absolutely. Rajeev Chandrasekhar ji, thank you very much. And you put matters in perspective. So we're going to take this conversation forward. As I thank you, we also say namaste.